is Justin Mackley is here with Shoots.video talking to Ken Gibbs Jr. today. And yeah, going to have a really interesting conversation about what he does, what he's involved with. You got a lot of hyphenates in your situation over there. You're doing a lot of things, man. That's great to hear. Tell me a little bit about that. What are you up to these days?
So right now I am at Amazon, the head of series social. So I manage the social strategy for all of the original series on Prime Video, with the exception of the gargantuan ones like The Boys or the forthcoming Lord of the Rings. Those are actually in the franchise category and led by Jess Thurber on the social side.
Okay. So big deal though. A lot of big things you are currently involved in and things that a lot of people are going to see, right? Millions of eyeballs out there.
Yeah, millions of eyeballs. I mean, that also includes sports on Prime. So Thursday night football for the NFL, and we also had our first exclusive game this year.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, what a crazy thing, right? How, it used to just be the big three and then eventually the big four, and then ESPN got involved, and you're like, man, a football game can be only streaming or only on a different, it's just such a bizarre concept to me, being like a lifelong sporting guy and especially a football fan, that they might
Yeah.
not be available on ABC, CBS, or NBC, Fox, that sort of thing.
Well, the world is changing, and I got to say, as a native Bostonian who living out here in the New York, New Jersey area over the last few years, I'm looking forward to a day when I can watch a big game anywhere, and
Yeah.
not to deal with the traditional blockings of the networks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And they have the blackouts and those types of things, and just how all that is set up is pretty complicated, I'm sure, from their end. And from our end, we're just like, where's my game? What's going on here? But
Ex-
it's
Exactly.
crazy. I mean, the fact that you can watch it on your phone, you can just watch a normal NFL game on your phone these days is pretty cool. It's
It is. It is, quite honestly. Like, thank God that the phones are so high def.
yeah, it's incredible how it's coming. I remember like distinctly, like, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, just being like, that seems impossible. You can't, like, I could see you pulling up videos on YouTube, that sort of thing, but like I can't just watch a straight up live sporting event on my phone. But it looks gorgeous and it works. So here we are.
Yeah, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, how long you been working there?
Just over 4 months. I began in September, just before maybe a week or two before our new CMO, Ukanwa Ojo, began. So I was actually kind of learning a system there that I think is about to change as she starts to really put her imprint on it as we enter the next phase of growth for Prime Video.
I see. And how fast does this stuff change?
In terms of,
Like,
like,
I just know that as an independent producer
mhm.
and someone who is looking toward distribution, often for a variety of reasons, um, it just seems like that landscape is constantly evolving into different things. And I think I'm wondering if it's as hard for you guys to keep up as the people who sort of create these opportunities as it is for the content producers to understand where they best fit in to get their projects seen by the most amount of people.
Got it, got it. Yeah. It's a space that changes daily, quite honestly. And that's, I think, really where you got to rely on the depth and breadth of your team as well, right? With the digital and the social landscape today, there are new apps popping up all the time that are being targeted towards different communities and what have you. So there might be an opportunity that might just be out of your purview because it's not within your interest, for example. But someone on your team can bring it to your attention. And I think at that point is when you dive deep, look at it, and really understand, is this a valuable part of should this be a valuable part of your campaign, and can it help you reach that audience that you're targeting?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, things are so segmented in what can be a very positive
Yeah.
situation for content creators, because they know that they can reach out to the exact people that theoretically care about what they got.
Ex-
If you reach out to them and they don't care about it, then you got some retooling to do, and that can be a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. But
Yeah.
at least you know that you can reach them, which is good. Um, yeah, do you guys float around the TVOD, SVOD, AVOD sort of stuff very often, or is that not really your realm?
Not really my realm. More so, I'm more so Prime Video,
Yeah.
but that's why, like, that is within the service as well. Like for example, you can get NBA League Pass and other channels as well. But for us and for my team, we're focused on the originals that are created and distributed on Prime Video.
Yeah. If someone was out there, they've had a lot of experience, they've made some movies, made some episodics maybe, and how does that work? Are they able to approach someone at Prime Video and say, I have this original idea and I think it's going to be really great. I have this built-in audience for this thing, whatever previous property it happens to be. How does that work?
Yeah, and I mean, so obviously, I'm still learning my way around the building, so to
Yeah,
speak,
yeah, yeah.
identifying all of the proper people. But what I can tell your audience is that the traditional entryway for linear or cable is not very different from the streaming world, right?
Okay.
There's a development team. There are development execs for the different categories, whether it be action, comedy, drama, YA. All of those people from Prime Video are in the market, just like their counterparts from cable and linear, looking for new projects as well.
Yeah, that's cool. And how much of that, I know, we float this word algorithm all the time. How
Mm.
much of that is sort of algorithm based, the choices you guys make? And I don't even know if you 100% see the special sauce behind that stuff, but and how much of it is good old fashioned, just people believing in a project?
So Prime Video, to my knowledge, right now, is not having an algorithm drive the creative choices,
Okay.
right? I think as opposed to a larger, longer-lived organization like a Netflix, quite honestly, they might incorporate that there. But Prime Video is really just 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
I think the size and scale of the overall Amazon brand might have people forget that.
Yeah.
But at this stage, Prime Video development executives are really looking for the best products in the space that are going to convince various different audience communities of the value of that long-term relationship with Prime Video.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, you don't want to have to develop new relationships all the time. You want to get someone who can produce. I mean, and when I tell people who are working for me or want to work for me or whatever it happens to be, business hasn't changed that much in hundreds of years, maybe ever, because at the end of the day, when you're someone who has capital to spend on something and you need to make a product, then you need to make those widgets. Like whatever those widgets are, you need to be able to make more widgets. And the easiest way to like produce more widgets is to have someone who's really good at making those widgets for you. And everything is basically able to be broken down to that in my estimation. And so like you're looking for good people to make good content that you can rely on to keep popping out new, original, youthful, fun ideas probably.
Like that's really it. Like I think within the last week we premiered the film One Night in Miami.
Yeah.
Right. Regina King, it was one of her first directorial debuts as well. And she's out there as a known talent, partners with a brand like ours. And look, we got the ROI,
Yeah.
right? A film in this space that made the noise and attracted the audience to our service. And looking forward to really seeing more from them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm going to check that out. That seems like a fun movie. You got some really interesting, what would you say, icons of the last half century in there, really talking about um, those unique moments in time that don't happen very often. And I think when we can reflect on that a little bit, that is a real thing that happened, or it's,
Yeah.
yeah, right. That's biographical. So being able to see those moments in time and just reflect on like how profoundly they affect everything else outside of that one little moment, I think is pretty interesting.
Right.
Yeah. So what sort of led you to this point? How did you get involved in this, 5 years of 10 years back?
Really 10 years back, I was phase one of the internet. I come from building and launching websites. I had further than that, like 20 years, I had basically joined a startup with Henry Louis Gates out of Harvard's Afro-Am department. We got purchased by Time Warner just before they were purchased by AOL. And, at that point, AOL really ran the internet, right?
Yeah.
I think I had all of the production opportunities and capabilities really at my fingertips, and got to really understand how you could impact audiences across various different content types. So, I had a podcast that we were recording out of AOL Studios way back then, when I think maybe the only other podcast I was aware of was like 9 to 5 Mac, or something like that, right?
Wow. Yeah.
In the Apple space.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really the opportunity to create content that wasn't facing any of the hurdles that you would on traditional platforms like TV or even print, quite honestly,
Yeah.
because the web was the wild, wild west. If you could create it and you had distribution opportunities and capabilities, it was out there. So that's what really kind of brought me to the space, and having the opportunity to play with all the toys in the AOL toy box.
Yeah. So you've really come full circle from that. That's been your sort of your center of expertise, it sounds like, is approaching new markets and new opportunities with a lot of toys at your disposal, like you're saying, to get out to the maximum amount of people. Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, we done some cool things over the years.
That's fun, man. What for people who are maybe starting, obviously 20 years ago, sort of what you're referencing, where they're starting and they're 20 years before your journey, what are some words of wisdom you would give them to, like, how do you proceed?
Let me make sure I follow that. Someone who was 20 years before me, or
Yeah. So you 20 years ago, if you could give advice to you 20 years ago now,
got
what
it.
would you tell yourself? That's a better way to phrase that question.
Okay. If I 20 years ago, I would have told myself that don't worry, you don't have to know everything,
Okay.
and have the confidence to pursue every opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'd say that because 20 years ago for myself, I had just moved to New York from Boston, didn't have much of a network within the city as well, so was a little bit hesitant, quite honestly, to make any moves that would have taken me away from that network because I didn't have any safety net. And the worst case scenario would be that you might find yourself in a position where things don't pan out, you get laid off or let go, and you got to go back home to Boston,
Yeah.
right? So I was hesitant on moving towards a lot of opportunities because of just that need for stability.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, quite honestly, yeah, that, and I think when you're young, you don't understand that oftentimes even the managers don't know what's next, right? They're just
Oh
kind of
yeah.
they're just they just got enough bravery to kind of move forward and understand how they'll handle whatever it is that they encounter, right? But I think I may have been 20 years ago operating from a position of like, I just everybody else knows what's next, I just don't,
Yeah.
right? So I got
Yeah.
to sit
Yeah. No, it's
learn it.
not that. I don't think. No. It's a funny situation because life is sometimes just a big progress of continually realizing that the people that you thought knew what was going on didn't really know what was going on. It's a
Exactly.
weird thing, man. I mean, and that's when you're a kid, you just assume your parents got it all together and they got everything figured out. And, you know, if they got $1,000 in their bank account, they're millionaires, and like none of that stuff makes sense. And so like that developmental process to me just continually happens. Cause then you get to somewhere else and you're like, oh, that was it. Shoot, I could have done this a long time ago if I knew it was like, that's all I had to do, really. Yeah. That's a trip. Yeah. So I think that's really wise is, taking opportunities when they come and being able to turn something that, what would you say? When you have the opportunity in your life, because you're not quite as tied down, or the stakes are not quite as high, that's really one you want to pounce, right?
Yeah, yeah. And because, when you don't have anything to lose, quite
Yeah.
honestly, like in hindsight, looking back at it, hey, if I had taken one of those opportunities and things didn't pan out, I could have crashed on somebody's couch for a little while. Like I had other friends who did it, and
Yeah.
and they're in better places because of it.
Yeah. 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 And here you are, an overnight success, right? And that's that's how the story always goes. How'd he get there? That's not fair. Whatever it is.
Exactly.
So tell me, do you think maybe Prime is sort of in a similar situation? I mean, like you said, they're young. They don't have this huge backlog that some of the other companies do. And so maybe they're willing to make mistakes. I mean, does
Oh,
that make sense for how you look at what you guys are producing over there?
oh, completely, completely. So, I mean, one of the things that Jen Sulky, who runs Amazon Studios, is really keen on is making Prime the home for talent,
Okay.
right? And I think, there are very many ways you could define that, but when you think about the entertainment industry as a whole and some of the traditional habits or handlers who have steered things in a certain direction, I think you've seen certain products not made, certain audiences not engaged because of traditional ways. And Prime, because Amazon is not solely in the video or streaming business,
Sure.
is in a very unique position to really allow creators to come to the service and create things that might not be able to find a home
Yeah.
elsewhere because of various reasons, right? And right now we're seeing the audience actually respond to and embrace that, right? Whether it's Hunters or One Night in Miami or The Boys, right?
Yeah.
I think they've managed to secure and produce some really unique IP that's resonating with the audiences.
And that's got to be a good feeling, from your perspective. Granted, you haven't been there the whole time producing The Boys or anything. It's not like that came up with you, but seeing what you guys are doing, it's good work and it's turning out there and it's giving people joy and interest in their lives by being able to watch these really good original content. How does that feel?
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, and it's one of the things that I like about social media, quite honestly, is that you're able to put something out and actually see that immediate response,
Okay.
right? You're not waiting for people to write reviews or what have you. It's like, no, is it trending? Right? That's volume and velocity. That means a lot of people are saying a lot of things about it right now, right? Now they could be saying bad things, but you get in there and you look at like, hey, it's great. People are enjoying it. Not only did we give the creator this opportunity to tell this story, right, for the communities that are always represented within the content, it's an opportunity for a different representation, quite honestly. And then the community that's embracing it and celebrating it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's important to be able to do that. And so, I'll get a little personal here. We made a movie. It's called Brick Madness. It's currently on Amazon. It is not streaming for free, but it's available on Prime and all that for purchase. A filmmaker in my position, and I know this isn't quite your specialty or anything, but a filmmaker in my position, like, what should I do to get more people to see that movie?
You got to let people know where it's at.
Okay.
I mean, you got to let people know where it's at. So to get people to see that movie, it would be helpful if I knew more about the movie, quite honestly, because then I
Sure.
can pick things up about
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
that might help you identify the communities that might be most quick to embrace that film for whatever reason, right?
Okay. I'll
But
I'll give you the
okay,
10-second breakdown. It's a mockumentary. It's a comedy. It's about a Lego tournament essentially.
okay,
So
right,
yeah, they're called bricks in our world, but there's essentially a bunch of people building those things. So yeah, it's sort of lighthearted, funny. I think it's hilarious, but a bunch of 30-year-olds playing with bricks, a bunch of adult nerds in one way or another. That's what
that,
we did. So yeah. So yeah, I mean there's some obvious we would say groups there to reach out to: Lego
yeah.
people and comedy people and mockumentary people, that sort of thing. But
I mean, for something like that, I'd also think that it would organically resonate with parents, right?
yeah.
Because not only have parents all been kids themselves and played with Legos, but they're oftentimes kind of in that world where you're walking across the living room late at night and the person stepped on the Lego, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
good
exactly.
spot in your heart, and they can appreciate and share that, and I think that those sub communities that I like when you
Yeah.
look at a product and you're thinking of how you can actually raise awareness for it online, right? Okay, comedy, sure, it's a comedy, right? But who else is going to have like a unique connection to this because of those various factors, right? And when you think of parents, like that's a wide group of people,
Yeah.
right? And then from you can put a bit of money behind it, do a paid campaign. You could target the parents in that regard, right? I would say you'd have to put a little bit of budget behind it if you
Sure.
don't have something that is organically going to help you scale, like a celebrity or affiliation with a group.
Yeah. 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 Gotcha. Yeah. And we have some people we got some faces and other that in
Okay.
there. And that sort of thing. The kid that's in the actual Lego movie part 1 and part 2, the live action kid, his name is Jaden Sand. He was actually in our movie before he was in the Lego movie. And so he's in
Ah,
there. And so that's a funny tie-in. Not that people go to the theater necessarily to see him. It's not that type of situation, but he's a great actor. And it's a fun little tie-in, I guess.
I think
Yeah.
the small things that traffic online though,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
small quirky facts.
It is weird what still works, even though you've seen the same sort of quasi misleading headlines 1,000 times in a row, and what
Mhm.
people still click on. I think you can't underestimate humans' proclivity to fall into the same psychological traps. It's quite funny from
Yeah.
the outside. Yeah, I think circling back just a little bit, I was thinking like, when you're on Waze and it sort of tells you to go around an accident or whatever, or to speed up in one way and go
Yeah.
around the normal way, you end up doing that, and then everyone ends up doing that, and you got 50 cars out on this one little off ramp that no one ever uses, and you go the way that the computer goes to tells you to go, but it ends up being even worse because now there's a lot of people in that space. And I got to think that there's a little bit of inference to how it would work within the streaming services or anyone producing content. Actually, is because if they have algorithms telling them what to make, then they might be all making the same damn thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the algorithms are less used in creation and
Okay.
more so in presentation,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
Yeah. So I think, and I mean, obviously Netflix is the master of this, but based on what you've clicked on within their service, the algorithm is determining, what other things it's going to show you. But even then, quite honestly, what thumbnail it will show you with that one, right?
Sure.
They've got like a library of thumbnails for each one. So based
So
on,
that's dynamic as well.
yeah,
That's interesting.
that's where the
Okay.
algorithm is taking place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's at the end of the day, they can sort of give you any version of what they think that thing is that would click with you, like literally make you click. And
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, we've come all this way and we have all this information in our fingertips, but really it's still the picture
Mhm.
and the short little blurb and then one or two other things. And that's what gets you to buy the movie or watch the movie or spend your hour and a half, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, I mean, I quite honestly discovered it when I clicked on something that I had already watched, but I hadn't read the title, but they had changed the thumbnail so drastically that it got
Oh,
my attention, and I thought it was something else. Like, oh, and I was like, all right,
interesting.
well, and
Yeah. I didn't really realize that happened quite so dynamically. That's really cool. And I think it's very important. What I tell content creators as well is like, if you're going to write a script, let's say, for example, if you're going to go to all the work of making a feature film, like give it a hook, give it something you can explain in 15 seconds, give it
Mhm.
something that people naturally care about or like or want to, hear about, are intrigued by. And that often comes down to something as simple as, what is your key art going to look like? You know?
And that so I'm it's interesting, right? I'm always debating the importance of key art in a world in which the customer journey begins on the phone, right? I
Okay.
think key art key art is incredibly stagnant in a timeline environment, right? As opposed to what a short video or GIF could be.
Okay.
And that's something that we think about internally all the time, right? Like, what is going to be the customer's first encounter with this series, with this film, right? Is it going to be a key art poster, or is it going to be, maybe a short video from a cast member that they shot while they were taping on set and published to their Instagram? And that might actually be it, as opposed to the key art.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and I think as a content creator, as a filmmaker, I've had problems like consistently making new stuff to be able to promote that because it is the easiest thing. You're like, oh man, I haven't put anything up in a couple days. I'll just put up the poster and put a little tweak on it or fix this or take the main images that we always use and just sort of repurpose them. And that's clearly not the best way to approach that. The better way to approach that is like, what else how can I reinvent this wheel and pull something that people haven't seen yet?
Yeah, I mean that's checking the box, but I think in these days, what I've often had to convince senior leadership of is that, hey, like checking the box is actually taking a step backwards, right? Like
Oh, okay.
the consumer is looking at this and they're like, oh no, that's just like literally they just tweaked the poster and put this out, right? Because they felt they had to engage us, but they didn't really think about engaging us, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So oftentimes I would say, listen, we've got to start capturing content from the moment we break ground on taping for production. Like day one of taping, okay, we're here capturing everything, right? We want you as a celebrity to start speaking with your audience about this project right now. You don't got to speak to them every day, right? But you've got millions of followers for a reason. Like they love you. Like they don't just like you in that film. They just like you as a person. They want to see what you're doing. So let them in on that. Start that conversation. We're obviously working with the directors to make sure that we aren't revealing anything, right,
Yeah,
about
right.
the actual series of film, but we're piquing that interest at the earliest possible opportunities.
Yeah, it's a full-time job being a celebrity slash influencer slash content creator. I mean, yeah, you're just constantly interacting. It's a strange world that we are in, but yeah, absolutely. It's obvious how useful that would be to
Mhm.
start talking about a movie 3 years before it comes out to just get it on people's radar a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, and 3 years might be a bit much, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it depends on the scope, right? Like really, like Endgame. Okay, we can talk about it 3 years in advance.
Sure, yeah.
So it depends.
What's your decision making on including or not including a trailer on Amazon?
There isn't. There isn't, quite honest. When you say on Amazon or for Amazon, like if we're not, we're gonna do a trailer for one of our series, because we always do trailers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I'm gonna get a little bit of confirmation about what that question was specifically. Let's talk about wit contests real quick. What is that all about?
So Wit is a company that I've been consulting with. Is by Vadi Murti. Vadi is a young guy out of Yale, also here in Jersey as well. But long story short, what Wit allows companies, organizations, sports teams, have been doing a lot with sports teams lately to do, is basically crowdsource UGC from their community. So, for example, you could engage a sports team and say, all right, we want to see your best touchdown celebration or reaction to the touchdown that XYZ player just scored. Via iframe, you can put it on your website, right, somewhere prominent that all of the people either in your arena or even watching at home know to go to easily. They can then record a video on their mobile device, upload it to the page. On the back end, as a company, team, organization, you have the very easy ability to just filter, right? Okay, this one makes it, this one makes it, this one doesn't. One of the reasons that would, to me, as a social marketer who's quite honestly had difficulty filtering out the noise in these social conversations, I think traditionally you would do something like that on Twitter with a hashtag, right?
Mhm.
Or TikTok or any of those platforms. But today, what happens is, XYZ person who's just looking to get eyeballs on their video is basically going to pollute your hashtag, right? You'll find that your hashtag
Yeah.
will be on everything. So what helps organizations cut through that clutter? Because very seldom will a troll kind of go all the way through the effort of, making it to the team's page and uploading a video that has nothing to do with what the contest is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
That's a high level of effort for someone who's not committed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they trolls want to take the easy trolls most of the time. They're not going to go through all that work.
Exactly. And, in the WIT instance, the team, the organization would then own that UGC that has been submitted. So not only can you use it on your own social handles for content, you could possibly use it in paid ads as well, which is how
Wow.
many of our clients have been using it. And the pricing that's associated with the contest is actually totally determined by the organization who's initiating it.
Okay. That's pretty cool, man. Easy way to connect those people that want to make stuff and the people that want other people to make stuff for them in a good way that helps everyone involved, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, just trying to make it as easy as possible for organizations to find and connect with their fans.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds neat. I like it. I think I'm in good shape. I'm not sure. We covered a lot. It was pretty good.
No,
What else had you thought we were going to talk about, or what else would you say to the people out there in the video production industry that feel like they might be stagnant, something like that?
in the video production industry right now, what I'd say is really double down on short form. All right. I don't think we've got enough professionals who are really working on short form video. I think the short form area is dominated by your TikToks and what have you, who are really, young creators using the tools of the platform as opposed to real professionals telling stories, creating content within these short windows, right? Because hey, there is a difference between amateur and pro, right? And having worked with the pros, what they're able to do within those short amount of times, I think could really go a long way in terms of, making people aware of their skills and abilities. Because I just don't think we've got enough professional talent, quite honestly, that's really engaging on these platforms. And hey, I know it takes time, as well, and that could be one of the reasons for it. But for instance, on Instagram, I follow a lot of creators, and not your traditional social media creator, but people who do special effect design.
Okay.
Right. And just so I can see and identify their work as well. That might help inspire me for other things. I might reach out to them as a resource as well. Or even just illustrators too. Like, I think to see a lot of people who actually have, pro level skill, even if it's just putting portfolio work on there, right? To open up that conversation and participate more, because I think we need to see more of the thought leaders behind the camera.
I like it. Yeah, that's a good answer. It's always going to be preferable to just get out there and make stuff and to figure out what you're doing. And I don't know that it's always true that if you make it, eventually you'll find an audience. I mean, sometimes you're gonna have to tweak what you make and go toward where the audience is a little bit too. I
Yeah.
think there's a balancing act there, but obviously getting better at your craft is always going to be a useful thing that you can engage in. And the best way to do that is just to make stuff and to continually refine like what you care about, what you don't want to do. I think those are often good things to solidify in your mind too. Like, what am I not trying to create? Because what am I trying to create is such a huge question. I think it's actually easier to answer the converse. Um, yeah, that's just how I look at it a lot of times. But yeah, get out there and make stuff. And if you find an audience and you can promote, obviously that's just as important these days as anything else. Then hopefully you can talk to someone like you or your team and get an Amazon original. Good place to be.
Indeed, indeed. Nah, you got to create. Creation is life.
Yeah, there you go. I appreciate talking to you, Ken. That was fun. This is Justin for Shoots.video, and we will speak to you next time. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Justin. It's been great.
Yes, sir. Have a good Saturday.
You too, man.
You might be looking at Shoots.video and thinking, so how does this all work? Is this about A, setting up the whole crew for me? B, just giving me options and having me handle it? Or C, something in between? Well, it's D, all of the above. To put it simply, we're here to help you in any way that we can to get the crew and talent you need for your next production. We believe that every level of video production can benefit from a well-maintained list of qualified crew members for every position. This goes for pre-pro, on-set, and for post. Every project is different, so if you need a producer to help manage the decision-making process, then we can totally do that. If you're already a producer and want to build your own crew from scratch, then go for it. We're here to make your next production a success. And if you are crew or talent looking for producers that want you, then you've come to the right place. Sign up now, and also leave a referral for any solid people that you know that are already on here. Thank you for considering Shoots.video, and happy shooting!